Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed the loudest voices in the room often say the least? Too many words, too little wisdom. If you cannot manage what comes out of your mouth, how will you ever manage your life? Right now, the world is full of noise. Words spilling endlessly, opinions flying like arrows. But have you ever paused and simply zip your mouth? Because when your mouth is shut, something far more powerful opens. Your perception. You see, silence is not weakness, silence is not ignorance. Silence is the sharpest intelligence. When you speak less, you see more, you hear more, you understand more. But look at people, restless tongues, always eager to say something, anything, just to fill the space. Why? Because they are uncomfortable with their own presence. If you must speak, let it be from clarity, not compulsion. Let it be from knowing, not from the desperate need to be heard. Every word you utter, ask yourself, does it enhance life or does it dilute it? Just try this, zip your mouth for one day. No unnecessary talking, no random chatter, you will see your awareness sharpens, your presence deepens, your very being becomes more powerful. The less you speak, the more profound your existence becomes. So ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to grow, if you wish to truly experience life, start with this simple discipline. Zip your mouth. Because when the mouth closes, life begins to speak to you in ways you never imagined. Look around. Everywhere people are talking, the world is filled with voices, conversations, debates, arguments. But how much of it really matters? How much of it carries substance? If you observe, you will see that most of the talking happening around you is not about communicating something meaningful, but simply filling the air with sound. People are speaking not because they have something valuable to say, but because they feel uncomfortable with silence. They do not know how to be in a space where words are not constantly exchanged. This compulsive need to speak is not intelligence, it is restlessness. The moment you open your mouth, you are using energy. Every word you utter carries a certain power. The question is, are you using that power wisely or are you simply wasting it? Most people are not aware of the impact their words create. They speak without thought, without awareness, and without realizing that words are like seeds. Whatever you say, you are planting something into the world. The problem is they do not take responsibility for what they are planting. And then when unwanted situations arise, they wonder why life is the way it is. If you pay attention, you will see that the most powerful people, the most impactful individuals speak very little. Why? Because they understand that words should be used with precision, not wasted on unnecessary chatter. If you are always talking, you are not listening. If you are always speaking, you are not observing. And if you are not observing, you are missing life itself. Silence is a doorway to perception, but most people are so busy talking that they never open that door. They are blind not because they lack vision, but because they cannot stop the noise long enough to see clearly. In today's world, everyone wants to voice their opinion on everything. There is a desperate need to comment, to argue, to prove a point. But let's be honest, how many of these opinions come from true understanding? How much of what people say is coming from real knowing? Most of it is just borrowed thoughts, recycled ideas, picked up from here and there. Just because you have an opinion does not mean it is valuable. Just because you have something to say does not mean it needs to be said. If you speak without awareness, your words become noise. And if your life is filled with noise, you will never experience true clarity. Have you ever tried sitting in absolute silence? Just for a few hours? Not speaking a word? Not engaging in mindless conversation? If you do this, you will notice something incredible. Your awareness heightens, your thoughts become clearer, and most importantly, you begin to see the power of restraint. You realize that much of what you were about to say was unnecessary. It added nothing to life, nothing to your growth. It was just a habit of making sound without purpose. The moment you become conscious of this, the way you use your words will change completely. This is not about being silent forever, this is about bringing a conscious quality to your speech. When you do speak, let it be out of clarity, not compulsion. When you choose to use words, let them be precise, let them carry weight, let them mean something. If you practice this, you will notice that when you do speak, people will listen. Not because you are loud, not because you demand attention, but because your words carry a depth that most people lack. This is the power of restraint, this is the strength of speaking with awareness. If you want to know the quality of your own words, simply observe, do your words create more harmony or do they create more conflict? Do your words inspire or do they drain the energy of a situation? Are your words an offering to life or are they just a reaction to your restlessness? If you start paying attention to this, you will see a profound shift in how you engage with the world. Life is happening all around you, but if your mind is filled with noise, you will not hear it. If your mouth is constantly moving, you will miss the essence of what is unfolding. So before you speak, pause, take a moment. Ask yourself, are these words necessary or are they just noise? If you observe life closely, you will see that the most profound things happen in silence. The sun rises in silence. But look at human beings, they cannot keep quiet even for a few moments. Their words run ahead of their awareness, their tongue moves faster than their intelligence. In this constant chatter, they lose the most fundamental key to true wisdom: silence. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is a powerful presence. It is not emptiness, it is the space where real intelligence awakens. Have you ever noticed that the sharpest minds, the most insightful people, do not speak unnecessarily? They observe more, they listen deeply, they wait before they speak. Why? Because they understand that silence sharpens perception. When you stop speaking compulsively, you will see life in ways others cannot. Your eyes will notice things they never noticed. Your ears will pick up nuances they have never heard. The noise in your head settles and suddenly you can grasp reality as it is, not as you imagine it to be. The problem is, most people mistake silence for ignorance. They think if someone is silent, it means they do not know. But real intelligence does not need to constantly prove itself. A person who is truly wise does not feel the need to announce it to the world. In fact, the wiser you are, the quieter you become. Not because you lack words, but because you understand their value. You realize that most of what is spoken is unnecessary, and most of what is important cannot be spoken, it can only be experienced. The greatest discoveries in life, the deepest moments of insight, have never come from loudness, they have come from stillness. A scientist staring at the stars in wonder, a philosopher sitting in deep contemplation, a musician lost in the silence between the notes. This is where intelligence truly flourishes. Even the most profound teachings do not come from words alone, they arise from a deep well of silence within. The words may point to something, but the real knowing happens beyond them. Silence is not just an individual experience, it has the power to transform everything around you. If you enter a space with deep silence within you, people will notice. Even without speaking a word, your presence will be felt. This is because silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a powerful energy. It draws people in, it makes them curious, it unsettles those who are restless, and it brings peace to those who are seeking. If you cultivate inner silence, you will not have to shout to be heard, even in the midst of noise. Your presence will speak louder than words. But today, silence is a rare thing. People are afraid of it. The moment there is silence, they turn on the television, they check their phone, they start a conversation, anything to avoid facing the stillness within them. Why? Because silence reveals everything. It shows you who you are. If you have been living a lie, if you have been running away from yourself, silence will bring it to the surface. This is why people drown themselves in noise. They do not want to face what is inside them. But if you have the courage to embrace silence, if you allow it to work through you, it will cleanse you. It will remove all unnecessary thoughts, emotions and identities, leaving only the essence of who you truly are. If you want to see how sharp silence is, just try this. Spend an entire day without unnecessary talking. Observe everything, listen deeply. Do not respond unless absolutely needed. By the end of the day, you will realize how much more you have understood, how much more you have perceived, and how much clarity you have gained. This is not about being silent forever. This is about using silence as a tool to sharpen your intelligence, to deepen your awareness, and to connect with life in its most profound form, because when the mind becomes silent, life speaks to you in ways you have never known before. Have you ever noticed that people rarely sit in silence even when they are alone? The moment they have nothing to do, they turn on their phones, call someone or start a random conversation. Why? Because silence makes them uneasy. It brings them face to face with themselves. And the truth is, most people do not want to see who they really are. They keep talking not because they have something meaningful to say, but because they are trying to escape their own presence. Talking is not just about communication, it has become a way of avoiding the discomfort of being alone. If you sit quietly for just a few minutes without any distractions, you will notice something strange. Your mind starts speaking louder than ever. Thoughts that you have pushed away for years will start surfacing. This is why people cannot stop talking. They are not speaking to express themselves, they are speaking to drown out the noise inside them. The more uneasy they are within, the more words they throw out into the world. The question is, why are people so uncomfortable with themselves? Why is it that the moment they are alone, they feel restless? This is because they have never truly known themselves. They have built their identity based on opinions, beliefs, and borrowed ideas. And deep down, they know that if they stop all this noise, they will have to face the reality of who they are, and that scares them. So they keep themselves busy with endless talking, arguing, gossiping, anything to avoid silence. Look at the people who are constantly talking. Most of them are not at peace. They may laugh, they may entertain, they may sound confident, but if you observe closely, you will see a deep restlessness within them. They cannot sit still, they cannot be with themselves. Their words are not coming from clarity, they are coming from compulsion. It is like a man who keeps running, not because he has somewhere to go, but because he is afraid that if he stops, he will have to face something he does not want to see. When you start observing your own speech, you will see how much of it is unnecessary. You will realize that you often speak just to fill the silence, not because it adds any value. But if you have the courage to sit quietly and just be with yourself, something incredible happens. The restlessness fades, the unnecessary thoughts dissolve, and a deep sense of peace arises within you. You no longer need to talk just for the sake of talking. When you do speak, your words carry weight. They have clarity, they have purpose. If you want to know whether you are using words wisely or just making noise, try this. Spend one entire day speaking only when unnecessary comments. At first you will feel restless because you will come face to face with everything that you have been trying to avoid. But if you stay with it, you will notice something amazing. Your mind becomes quieter, your awareness becomes sharper, and your presence becomes deeper. You will realize how much energy is wasted in unnecessary speech and how much clarity is gained in silence. This is not about rejecting speech altogether. Words are powerful, but they should come from clarity, not compulsion. The next time you feel the urge to speak, ask yourself, am I saying this because it truly needs to be said, or am I just avoiding silence? The moment you become conscious of this, the way you use your words will transform. You will no longer speak just to escape yourself, you will speak when it truly matters. And when that happens, your words will not just be heard, they will be felt. Have you ever observed how most people speak? Words flow endlessly without thought, without awareness. It is as if their tongue has a life of its own, moving faster than their mind. There is no pause, no reflection, just an unstoppable stream of words. But if you listen carefully, you will see that much of what is being said carries no real value. It is just noise. People are speaking not because they have something profound to say, but simply because they cannot help themselves. Their words are not coming from clarity, they are coming from compulsion. The moment you speak compulsively, you lose control over your words. You say things you do not mean, you react instead of responding. You exaggerate, you assume, you pass judgment without true understanding. And later, when conflicts arise, when misunderstandings happen, you wonder why things went wrong. But if you had just taken a moment to pause before speaking, if you had allowed clarity to settle in, the entire situation would have been different. Words have the power to create or destroy. The question is, are you using them consciously or are they using you? Speaking should never be a reaction. It should always be a response. A reaction is unconscious, someone says something and immediately you throw words back without thinking. This is what creates unnecessary arguments, broken relationships and endless misunderstandings. But when you speak from clarity, your words become precise, measured and impactful. You say what needs to be said, nothing more, nothing less. There is no excess, no waste, just pure intentional expression. If you observe people who have true presence, you will notice one thing. They do not speak unnecessarily. When they do speak, their words carry depth. Why? Because they have trained themselves to only speak from clarity, never from compulsion. They do not engage in meaningless chatter. They do not speak just to fill silence. They understand that words are energy, and every word they utter must be worth the energy it carries. This is why when they speak, people listen. Their words have weight because they are backed by awareness. One of the biggest reasons people speak compulsively is because they are uncomfortable with silence. The moment there is a pause in a conversation, they feel the need to fill it with words. They fear that silence makes them look awkward, unintelligent, or uninteresting. But the reality is quite the opposite. A person who is at ease with silence exudes confidence. They do not need to constantly prove their intelligence through words. They know that true wisdom does not come from speaking too much. It comes from speaking just enough. If you want to break the habit of speaking compulsively, start with a simple practice. Before you say anything, pause. Just for a moment, ask yourself, is this necessary? Will this add value? Am I speaking out of clarity, or am I just reacting? If you do this consistently, you will notice something incredible. You will speak less, but what you do, say, will carry much more impact. People will start listening to you in a different way. Your words will no longer be just sounds, they will become instruments of transformation. So, before you speak, take a moment, let your words come from clarity, not compulsion. Let them be conscious, not unconscious. Because when you master your speech, you master your life. The way you speak reflects the way you think. And if your words are coming from a place of awareness, your entire life will move in that direction, toward depth, toward wisdom, and toward true mastery of yourself. If you observe closely, you will see that nature operates with immense precision and restraint. The sun does not burn brighter than necessary. The rivers do not overflow unless disturbed. The trees do not grow endlessly into the sky. Everything in existence functions within a certain balance, a certain discipline. But look at human beings. There is no restraint. Especially when it comes to speech, people do not know when to stop. They speak without measure, without awareness, without realizing that every word they utter is shaping their life. Restraint is not suppression. It is not about forcing yourself into silence. It is about choosing your words with precision. It is about knowing that when you say something, it must carry weight, it must mean something. Right now, most people use words carelessly, they gossip, they complain, they argue endlessly, not realizing that every unnecessary word they speak is draining their own energy. If you learn the power of restraint, if you master when to speak and when to remain silent, you will experience an unbelievable transformation within yourself. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people do not speak unnecessarily? When they do, their words carry an authority that demands attention. Why? Because they have trained themselves to speak only when necessary. Their silence is not emptiness, it is a presence. And when they finally open their mouths, every word is sharp, every sentence is impactful. But look at those who speak endlessly. They are heard, but they are not listened to. Their words are just part of the background noise of life. They do not create any impact because they lack restraint. Right now, if you simply observe yourself for one day, you will see how much energy is wasted through speech. So much talking, yet so little meaning. If you become aware of this, you will naturally begin to refine your speech. You will not have to force yourself into silence. You will simply realize that half of what you say is unnecessary and the other half could be expressed with much greater clarity. Restraint is not a restriction, it is a tool to sharpen your communication, to make your words powerful instead of just loud. But why is it so difficult for people to practice restraint? Because restraint requires awareness. Most people are speaking unconsciously. They are not aware of what they are saying, how they are saying it, or why they are saying it. They just speak because they feel the need to respond, to participate, to be noticed. But if you bring awareness into your speech, you will see a profound shift. You will not waste words. You will not engage in meaningless conversations. You will not speak just to fill silence. Instead, every word you say will come from a place of clarity. Try this. Before you say anything, pause for a moment. Just a second of silence before you speak. In that moment, you will know whether your words are necessary or not. If you make this a habit, you will naturally start practicing restraint. You will notice that your energy remains intact. Your presence becomes stronger and your words carry more meaning. This is the power of speaking with awareness, of using restraint as a tool for personal transformation. A person who has mastered restraint does not need to shout to be heard. Their presence alone is enough. Their words are not many, but they are powerful. Their silence is not weakness, it is strength. When you learn to hold back unnecessary words, you will realize something extraordinary. You do not lose anything by speaking less. You only gain clarity, depth, and an undeniable presence that speaks louder than any words ever could. Have you ever noticed that when someone speaks constantly, their words lose meaning? The more they talk, the less people listen. Words are like currency. If you keep printing money endlessly, it loses value. But if you use words sparingly, with clarity and precision, each word carries power. A single sentence spoken at the right moment can impact people more than 1,000 meaningless words. But to reach that level of mastery, you must first learn to speak less. Speaking less is not about being silent all the time. It is about ensuring that when you do speak, it truly matters. Right now, most people speak just to fill the silence. They feel uncomfortable if there is even a moment of quiet in a conversation, so they rush to say something, anything, to avoid that discomfort. But the truth is, silence is not empty. It is a powerful space where real understanding happens. If you can hold back unnecessary words and allow silence to exist, you will notice that when you finally do speak, people will pay attention. Look at the world's greatest leaders, thinkers, and visionaries. They are not the ones who speak the most, they are the ones who speak with precision. Their words are carefully chosen, their sentences carry depth, and their speech is never excessive. Why? Because they understand that power is not in the quantity of words, but in the quality. If you speak too much, your words become diluted. But if you speak with restraint, each word becomes like an arrow, sharp, direct, and effective. The problem is most people are uncomfortable with this idea. They think that if they do not speak enough, they will not be noticed, they will not be valued, but the opposite is true. If you are selective with your words, people will listen to you more attentively. If you only speak when it is necessary, your words will gain significance. People will begin to recognize that when you open your mouth, it is worth paying attention to. This is the power of restraint. This is the strength of speaking less and saying more. But to reach this state, you must first become conscious of your speech. If you simply observe yourself for one day, you will see how much of your talking is unnecessary. You will notice how many times you repeat yourself, how often you speak just to be heard, and how many words you use that add no real value. Once you become aware of this, a natural refinement will begin. You will not have to force yourself to speak less. You will simply see that much of what you were saying was not needed. If you want to test the power of speaking less, try this. When you are in a conversation, pause before you respond. Let there be a moment of silence. Observe the urge to fill the space with words. If what you are about to say is truly valuable, speak. If not, remain silent. When you practice this, you will notice an incredible change. People will begin to lean in when you talk. They will start valuing your words more. Your presence itself will command attention. Because you are no longer contributing to the noise, you are offering something meaningful. This is not just about communication, it is about how you engage with life. The way you speak reflects the way you think. If you are disciplined in your speech, your mind becomes sharper. If your words are precise, your actions become focused. When you master the art of speaking less, you do not just gain power in communication, you gain mastery over yourself. And that mastery is what truly sets you apart. The way you speak is not just about communication, it is a reflection of how you perceive and engage with life. If your speech is chaotic, unfiltered and excessive, it means your mind is in the same state, restless, distracted and unfocused. But if your words are measured, precise and intentional, it is a sign that you have cultivated a certain mastery over yourself. Mastering speech is not just about sounding wise, it is about aligning your inner clarity with your outer expression. It is about making sure that every word you speak serves a purpose, carries depth and brings value. Right now, most people speak compulsively. Their words are not chosen consciously. They are simply blurted out based on reactions, emotions and unconscious impulses. This is why so many misunderstandings happen, why so many conflicts arise, and why people often regret what they have said. If you look at your own life, you will see that some of the biggest mistakes were made not through action but through words spoken without thought. This is why learning to master your speech is not just a small discipline, it is a life-changing transformation. Mastery over speech does not mean you should suppress your thoughts or become silent forever. It means you should develop the awareness to know when to speak, how to speak, and when to remain silent. Words are like tools. If used properly, they can build and create. But if used carelessly, they can destroy and damage. A person who knows how to use words consciously has the power to inspire, to heal, to uplift. But someone who speaks without awareness can create unnecessary suffering, both for themselves and others. If you observe people who have truly mastered their lives, you will notice that they do not engage in idle chatter. They do not waste words on meaningless gossip, complaints or empty arguments. When they speak, it is with clarity and purpose. Their words are not just sounds, they are instruments of influence, carrying depth and impact. And because they have trained themselves to speak only when necessary, their silence itself has a powerful presence. You do not need to be loud to be heard. If you have mastered your speech, even your quietest words will be felt deeply. One of the simplest ways to begin mastering speech is to develop the habit of pausing before speaking. Right now, most people speak without thinking. They respond instantly, without any space between thought and expression. But if you create even a brief pause before you speak, something remarkable happens. You gain control over your words. You become aware of whether what you are about to say is necessary or not. You start filtering out the unnecessary, and what remains is pure, impactful speech. This small habit can completely transform the way you communicate. Another key aspect of mastering speech is to listen more than you speak. If you observe, you will see that most people do not really listen. They are simply waiting for their turn to talk. But a person who listens deeply, who absorbs information before responding, develops a different level of intelligence. When you truly listen, you understand people better, you perceive situations more clearly, and when you finally speak, your words are based on understanding rather than assumption. This makes your speech far more powerful and effective. Mastering speech is not just about communication, it is about mastering yourself. If you can control your words, you can control your mind. If you can refine your speech, you can refine your entire way of thinking. And once you reach this level of mastery, your words will no longer be just sounds. They will become tools of transformation. Every word you utter will carry meaning, purpose, and power. And that is the true strength of one who has mastered the art of speaking with clarity, awareness, and restraint. When you master your speech, you master your life. Your words are no longer just empty sounds. They become forces that shape reality. Every word you utter should be a conscious choice, not a compulsive reaction. When you learn to speak with clarity and restraint, people will listen. Not because you are loud, but because your words carry weight. But remember, true mastery of speech is not just about choosing the right words. It is also about knowing when silence is more powerful. Silence is not weakness. It is not a lack of expression. It is a space where wisdom grows, where understanding deepens, and where presence speaks louder than words ever could. So before you speak, pause. Let your words be born out of awareness, not impulse. Let them be instruments of clarity, not tools of destruction. And most importantly, do not speak just to fill the silence, speak because you have something truly valuable to say. If you can do this, your words will not just be heard, they will be felt. And that is when your speech becomes truly powerful.